Crystalline podcast. Crystalline podcast.
Conversations to inspire.
Hello and welcome to the Crystalline podcast, inspirational conversations with extraordinary folk. Today we had the pleasure of sitting down with Andrea Camargo. Enjoy.
Okay, welcome ladies and gentlemen. Today we're thrilled to have Andrea Camargo joining us, a renowned expert in TRE and a passionate advocate for trauma-informed healing. Andrea brings a wealth of insight into how TRE can release deep-seated tension, balance the nervous system, and foster resilience. We're excited to dive into her journey and learn from her experience. Without further ado, Andrea, how are you doing?
I am doing really well. Very happy to be here. Thank you so much, Joe.
No problem, no problem. I'm glad you made it all right. So, for the folks that aren't aware of you, could you give us a little bit about your journey before you found TRE?
Yes, of course. So when I went to college, I studied finance and international affairs. So my journey started, let's say, very standard, college, and then my first job in corporate world. I worked in Siemens, then I worked in Germany in Deutsche Telekom, and then I worked in SAP, a software company. So I was like on that corporate track for 7 years, I think. Um, and my specialty, let's say, was project management or anything that had to do with project management. And the reason why I started TRE was because I was having panic attacks. Very uncomfortable, very scary. So my psychologist at the time said, maybe you should try something with the body. So that's how I ended up doing TRE. And since the first day, I was like, I need more of this. So I would say my journey was, lots of tension in my body too. Today, I know that it was because, I was doing something that I wasn't really into. I didn't enjoy that much. And so that showed up in my body.
Okay, so the stressful corporate world, you were just storing it all in your body kind of thing. So I guess there's some people out there that won't even know what TRE stands for. Would you
Yes.
like to explain a little bit more about it?
Yes. So TRE stands for Tension Trauma Stress Release Experience. And this is, let's say, a method, a technique that was discovered by Dr. David Berceli when he was working abroad, in the Middle East, in conflict areas. He was just able to observe that some kids, especially, and some people started shaking involuntarily. And he got very curious about that. So he started just, kind of like asking or doing some very simple research with these people, like what's happening to you, asking the kids. And then, of course, he ended up, investigating a bit more. And he found out that this mechanism, this tremor mechanism, appears in every single mammal whenever we are in, getting out of a stress curve. So, for example, if you think about an impala, if you think about, a little Bambi, if another animal is wanting to hunt that, then once the hunter goes away for whatever reason, then the mechanism activates itself. The impala shakes or Bambi shakes and then releases the stress that was generated by almost being eaten, or killed by another predator. So what he was able to find out in us humans is that we are also able to activate that mechanism whenever we are in a non-stressful moment in our lives. So after a yoga class, or if I just, lay down my mat right here, then he came out with 7 exercises that are a very small stressor. I would say the minimum stress necessary for the body to activate the mechanism. So you end up enjoying the benefits of entering the release experience without having to go through the experience of high stress.
Okay. And so, what was it like when you had your first experience then? Without, obviously, if it's too personal, that's fine as well.
Yeah, thank you. So like I said, my psychologist said, go and do this technique. So I ended up, booking a session. It was a group session. So my very first experience was a lot of release um, in my hips and in my legs. I also remember this crying when you're like, it just feels so good to cry because I've had this stuck in my chest for so long. So when I ended the experience, I was like, I just feel so great. I was no longer holding into this wanting to cry because crying is very normal in life. It's also a way of releasing. When you cry or when you laugh a lot, your abdomen moves and shakes, and that releases also anything that's stored there. So when I finished my session, the provider came to me and they said, "Are you okay? Like, how are you feeling?" And I said, "I love this. I want more of this." And literally, like right after that, I ended up looking, where can I get more of this? And at that moment, for me, or let's say the only option here was, to start getting certified as a provider.
So, how long did it take for you to get the certification? And then, am I correct in saying that you're now a global facilitator?
Yes. So let's say for me, that took like a little bit more than a year. You go through modules. The international organization has like the minimum requirements that you have to do. You can do that with any trainer in the world. Um, and some trainers take a little bit longer, some trainers take a bit more. But basically, what you do is you go through certain modules where you get some theory and some practice. And then you have to start training yourselves, like finding people, your family, your close friends, and then you start like doing sessions with them. So that whole process took me a little bit more than a year. And then since that moment, I have not stopped teaching people TRE.
So, who can benefit from this? Is it anyone or is it specific people?
Yeah, I love to mention that anyone that feels that they're stressed
So,
can
everyone.
benefit from this. Yes. So if you feel like you have any part of your body that is in a lot of tension, if you feel like there's a chronic pain, if you feel like, oh, something emotional is going on that you have not been able to pin out, it definitely can help because what TRE does, it targets directly the nervous system. So the shaking, just to give an image, it's not exactly like this that it works, but just to give an image to people that are listening to us. If tension, it's like a little, you know, capsule, you know, when the movement starts like hitting that capsule very, very softly at your own rhythm, your own body knows how to do that, then that capsule opens up and that tension, that stress, it's released from the body. Like it moves through the body and it's released. So let's say that, for whatever reason, maybe you play sports or whatever, and then you have this pain. So TRE, it's not a promise that this is going to go away, but definitely it's going to tell your nervous system that it can release any tension that it no longer needs. So with practice, what ends up happening is I like to say that the body or some bodies become way more softer. So because of the tension release, not necessarily like your arms are going to be, let's say they're going to have less muscular tone, but I mean like softer in a way that you're going to feel like what you're holding on to is not that much, you know? And I also like to clarify that the experience of TRE is definitely something that you have to feel in your body. So I do invite people that are curious and want to try it out to just find a provider in the global website and then just choose from whoever they like and just give it a try. Because once you've had the experience of I don't know what happened, but my body definitely feels like, I really enjoy this feeling. Then you're going to be wanting more of it. And of course, if you do it with a provider, anything that could come up, I would say unexpected, but still normal, like crying or an emotion that comes up, then the provider is going to be there to hold space for you and to guide you to whatever you need to do. But definitely, the experience of TRE is just a sensation of feeling that you like to be more in your body. Like, oh, something happened and I just like to be here a bit more.
So, would I be correct in saying that it's the psoas muscles have got a big part to play in this? Is that right?
Yeah, so the psoas muscle is one of the biggest ones in our body. So whenever we lay down and we do the whole routine exercises that David Berceli has proposed, um, you end up stimulating the psoas, but you also end up stimulating other big muscles of your body. And what has been seen is that, right next to the psoas or even intertwined with the psoas, we have a lot of nerves, like the vagus nerve, which is also very famous nowadays. But in general, just think about the central part of your body, where the stress response or the relaxation response it's very evident. So like if someone would come here right now to my house and I would feel scared, then I would naturally like roll my shoulders forward, my chest would go inward, and let's say that psoas would take a certain form. But then if you were to tell me, oh, you just won the lottery, maybe I would just raise my arms and put my shoulders back, and then that psoas would take another position. So it's like that central part of our body, it's very connected to the emotional expression that we have depending on whatever experience we are having at a certain moment. So releasing any tension that it's around that, it's definitely going to be beneficial for the body. And something that I do love about TRE is that considering that it's an involuntary tremor while you're activating, I always say that it's the wisdom of the body that tells everyone. I mean, everybody shakes in a very specific way, very unique way, depending on what that body needs to release. So maybe my first experience was a lot of hips and a lot of legs, but I was working with someone that plays golf. And in their second session, the shoulders just shook so much. I'm not saying that it's because he's a golfer. I'm just saying in that body, TRE found that, okay, the release has to be more on the upper side of the body for whatever reason. We don't need to get into that. Um, but definitely, yeah, just the biggest muscles, but also the micro muscles, the tendons. But of course, the central point might be sometimes, the starting point might be sometimes the psoas.
Okay, so for those who've never tried it, how long can they expect a single session to take place in?
Yeah. So I think maybe every provider can do it a little bit differently. We put our style into it, but in general, in a session, what every provider would do is give an explanation of what TRE is, give an explanation of, the method that Dr. Berceli discovered or that he created. And then we would ask the person, to lay down after we guide 7 exercises. So what they can expect, I would say it's 3 parts maybe, like a theory part or a talking part, and then the 7 exercises that we would guide. And then finally, the person would lay on a mat or in wherever they want to. And then we would hold space for them during the shake. That could take about 15 to 20 minutes. And then, just closing up and asking the person, how was it for you? How did you feel? So that's, I would say, the 3, 4 parts that someone can expect in a session.
Because I basically discovered it, I came across it 2019, and
Okay.
I had this horrendous shoulder impingement that just would not go away, and it was causing me a right bit of discomfort. And I was watching a video of some guy doing, the like Indian clubs. You seen this?
Yeah.
The like
Mm-hmm.
gowders, I think they call them. But yeah,
Yeah.
so he was doing that, and I was just looking in the YouTube comments because sometimes that's where all the gold is. And this chap said the only thing that fixed my shoulder injury was TRE, and I was like, what on earth is that? So then I found that and saw all these videos of people shaking and like military guys crying and stuff, and I was like, well, this is really out there for me at the time. And so there was a video online that I could see how it was done, and I was like, I'm not going to go to a practitioner. I'm just going to do it myself. So I went to the gym and tried to remember how to do it. Didn't experience anything, and was like, oh, this is a load of nonsense. And then by the time I walked, it was about a 10-minute max walk from the gym to the house that I was staying at the time. By the time I got through the front door, the shoulder was completely fixed, and I was like, what is going on here? This is some next stuff. So I then went to I found the nearest practitioner to me, and then she guided me through it like properly with a bit more insight. And yeah, ever since then I've been very keen on it. But a question that has always been on my mind is, say you haven't got a shoulder impingement and you've been at war or something, you've got some serious trauma, PTSD. If, let's say, this traumatic event was 10, 15, 20 years ago, does it still work years after the event that's caused the trauma?
Yeah, so that's a really interesting question. I have seen myself, people that come to practice with me. I have seen people, mention, I remember this thing that happened when I was a little girl. I remember that, this went on at my home when I was a little girl. Um, and I've had the chance, so I am from Colombia originally, and I've had the chance to work with people that were in the armed conflict in the country, and they had like some amputated limbs. So we're talking about people with very high, imprint of stress or trauma in their bodies. And it's incredible to see how everybody reacts very differently, but definitely the impact of whatever happened and whatever, let's say, tension it's being held in the body and it's ready to come out, the body just lets it out. So continuing with the example that you're mentioning, Joe, if someone went to war, 25 years ago, and that body, that nervous system is ready to release the experience of 25 years ago, then highly likely the shaking mechanism is going to bring it up to release it. Yeah. What I do love about TRE is that you just have to shake and then you will see what happens. It's not like other techniques or other models in which you are targeting what you want to happen. I always give the example, if I go to the gym, like for 3 months and I do 100 crunches every single day, it's highly likely that my body is going to change and, the impact of that is going to show in my muscles. But if I go for 3 months to do a TRA practice, I don't know what's going to happen. And I think that's really fantastic, meaning I don't know exactly what is going to happen, but I know that I will enter a process in which I will discover, oh, this is what's coming up. This is what I'm releasing. But just to be very sharp on the answer, yes, I have seen that happen. And yes, it had been registered that that can happen. So time doesn't really make a very big difference because for the body, the timeline, it's very different than for the mind. So if I'm storing something and it's time to let it go, then it's going to open up. The body doesn't know if it's been 25 years or 10 or if it was last week.
Yeah, so I mean, what I was kind of fascinated with was that for me, there was no placebo effect. Because I was this happens to me a lot. I'm like, I do these things. I'm like, this won't do anything to me. And then next thing you know, all sorts is happening. But let's say the body is and the mind is ready to release. Does this trauma? I mean, it might be too varied to put on it, but does it work in layers, or is it like a black and white kind of scenario? If that makes sense.
Yes, it makes sense. So I want to talk about my own body first, just to give the people that are listening to us an idea. and then of some experiences that I have seen. So in my own body, it definitely has been layers. Um, Even something that has, so I, for me, when I was little, it was really hard to cry. Like I was one of those girls that never cried. Um, and so when I became an adult, crying was like very, very weird for me. Like, why would you cry? Like, nobody cries. You shouldn't cry. That was my belief. So one of the things that started happening to me when I started shaking was a lot of crying. Like, why am I crying? Like, I don't understand, but it was just like very physical, like just this wanting to cry coming up, but nothing was going on in my head. Like, I wasn't sad, nothing was going on, but it was just like, boop. And then I started to understand, I thought this upper part of my torso moved a lot when I cried during TRE practice. So to me, I said it was layers because at a certain point I stopped crying and then the movements on the upper chest started to change. So it was as if that, first, second, third layer, maybe that was all crying, or layers of my body that needed to move while I cried because of the very specific shake that you get when you cry. And then the movement started to change, you know? And then I was able to engage my shoulders a bit more and then to move my head a bit more. But all of that happened organically. Let's say I didn't plan for that to happen. And then I have seen a very specific case. This is someone that came to me. They were very shaken up because of an experience that had happened a year ago. And they had not been able to, let's say, move past that experience. So when they lay down to shake, they shook for, let's say, 5 minutes. And this person said, it's a lot for me, you know? So for them, maybe that was not a layer, but it was just like the body was super ready to maybe bring that up, but her mind wasn't ready, you know? So this is like a very important example of also what we call self-regulation. I like to say that the body and the mind need to be, let's say, aligned. And it's not about like rushing the release. It's about allowing your body to feel comfortable while you're releasing whatever the body wants to let go of. So for this person, it was very like 5 minute shake and then stop, and then I'll see you next week. We talked and then we did some other exercises. But then like the theory practice at such, kind of like we left it there. Today, this is someone that, they can shake for 30 minutes, you know. She has reported, no, I was watching TV and then I forgot to set up the timer. So I shook for 30 minutes. And now the experience of the shaking for her is just a lot of pleasure. Like she says, I just love how I feel afterwards. So maybe that could also be taking or interpreted as layers, but for her, it was just a lot that came up at first. And now she's able to experience a lot of pleasure when she enters the practice. And I did work with someone that was in the military. And for them, it was a lot of shaking in the beginning, like very fast. Nothing emotional was coming up, but definitely that body was just moving a lot, like very fast, arms, legs. So I think that when you give the body the opportunity to release at their own rhythm, then you're just going to surprise yourself. So my recommendation would be to go with an open mind, and just to see what is it that my body is ready to release today, if that makes sense to my mind and I don't get scared and it's not, like, oh, I'm crossing a very, very, let's say narrow line about, oh, it's getting like it's a lot of emotion, then you step back. But if it's feeling comfortable, then you can let your body move into the experience and then you will see, oh, what was it that came up? And I also recommend just think in terms of the body, like, oh, this release and the upper part, or this release and the lower part. And then with time, you're going to maybe yourself be able to pinpoint, oh, this part of my body used to feel like this in the past 6 years. Oh, now it doesn't feel like that anymore. And then you're just going to start getting your own insights.
Because for me personally, I notice when I try it now that if I've been sort of doing work and this and I go straight into it, there's like a part of my mind that like resists the tremors. So what I've found for me that works is I do a little breath work, a little meditation first, and that sort of puts me in a calmer, like more receptive state. Have from your experience, have you found anything that you find works in conjunction synergistically with it, or are you just like a purist?
No, I am very open because I do other practices. So I understand what you're saying, and it happens to me too. For me, that happens like kind of like the resistance of getting into the practice happens when I am very tired. Like when maybe I have jet lag or I've just, went overboard with work. Kind of like there's a lot of stress, there's a lot of vivid stress in my body. So I lay down and I'm just like dead tired and my mind is just rushing, rushing, rushing. Kind of like there's no space for the tremor to appear. So what works for me is either I go on a walk, like consciously, I go out, I walk, I look at the mountain, I look at the trees, kind of like just, let go stuff from my mind. Or the other thing that works for me is just to do a few stretches, like just, really, really stretch like a cat, like just move however I feel like, even sometimes like jump or move my arms and like physically like just shake or shake the legs. Kind of like you just step out of that state of high stress, after a lot of work. And then I lay down and then the tremor comes up for me. So those two things work in my own body. And then also the power of shaking with someone. So, if you make friends, in the TRE community in Colombia, we're very close. So, we get together to shake together. So it's a bunch of providers. So we all know what we're doing. And we just go to someone's house and then we just lay down and we shake for 20 minutes together. We don't talk. We just, like humans just shaking. And it's very powerful, co-regulating with someone else. Um, so that's something that can also work. Like, oh, I'm very stressed. The shaking is not coming up for me. But then you ask a colleague, you ask a friend to just be there for you. You go to a provider, if it's your first time, and then the body also feels safe. And I do like to emphasize that always think about you're telling your nervous system that it's safe to release. So your body needs to feel that it's in a safe environment. And safe doesn't only mean, oh, I'm at home and I'm safe. It means that your nervous system thinks that you're safe. Yeah. And this is something that, oh, I'm safe, I'm at the mall, but then the body doesn't feel like they're safe at the mall. For whatever reason, it's my people, it's too loud. Um, so always keep that in mind. Like you're asking your body to let the guard down. You're telling your body, we're not in danger. You're telling your body, you don't have to be on alert. So this is entering a vulnerable state. So of course, if the body says no, I would recommend just give it time or try something else. But definitely, if it's not wanting to start the shake, just try a bit later, give it another chance and another moment, because consider that maybe for that body right there, it's not so safe to release. When I'm too tired, it's not so safe to release.
Awesome. Well, you kind of touched on it a little bit earlier. I'm kind of curious because for me, TRE kind of sits in this place where it's very scientific. The papers are all there as well as the evidence is clearly stated, but it kind of, from my seeing of it, it kind of brings two kinds of crowds. You kind of got the more scientific side, therapist side, and then you kind of get a bit more of the alternative, sort of hippie kind of community, if you will. So I was curious, you mentioned it, what other things, other practices are you skilled in that you mentioned?
Yeah. So I mainly work with the body, like body related techniques. So I work with yoga. I specialize in prenatal yoga. I am a doula. So let's say half of my work is with pregnant women with prenatal grief. This is when, a baby dies in utero. So I work with women that go through this experience. But I always work from the body. So whatever is going on in a person's life, let's say the entering door for me and the work that I do is the body. Sometimes something very simple that we all might have heard of, which is about, closing your eyes, breathing very deeply, like set into your body, kind of like just come down from your head and just set into the body. That sometimes can take like 15 minutes. It might be very simple. That doesn't have to have a name, but it's just like, it just helps us to just come into the body. Then once people are less in their heads, then I either offer stretching works really well, like from yoga. But I would say definitely my number one tool is TRE. So anyone that comes to me for whatever reason, they do experience TRE at a certain point. I do encourage that this is a practice that they keep alive in their lives. And then other things that I do is I work a lot with plants. So like some, especially with pregnant women, like how they should shower with certain plants. And we have all that available here because we're in the tropic. So use this plant, if this is hurting, if, you're not being able to sleep. So I work a lot with that, and that's very helpful, but that's also like a body originated thing because you just have to make like this cocktail of plants and then you shower with that, and then people say, oh, I was able to sleep. Um, I also do massage, especially for the pregnant women. Postpartum, I would say, is my most favorite part. So I work a lot with releasing the tension in the muscles, once the baby has arrived. Um, and another thing that I do love to do is just very subtle movements. This is from Feldenkrais. I'm not certified in Feldenkrais, but this is from or inspired in Feldenkrais. And it's just letting people lay down and returning to their body through very slow movements. So people sometimes come to the practice and I just ask them to move very slowly so they can come into their body and kind of like reconnect. Oh, this is my arm. Oh, this is my leg. Because it might sound very simple, but in the rush of the everyday, I see people all the time that are shaking and they say, I don't feel anything. So it's not that they're not shaking, it's that they're not feeling what the body's doing. So we need to work on them being able to feel what the body's doing. And sometimes we just need to, let's say, do that like a baby. Like the baby starts to move very slowly when they're born, and then they get into their bodies, and then they feel. So I would say it's like a process like that. Just accompany the adults to remember, oh, this is my own body. And then once that happened, they shake again and they're like, oh, now I feel it.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to try the Feldenkrais. I've just never had the opportunity. But
It's amazing.
you kind of, it kind of segues into one of my other questions. But I was going to ask, can pregnant women do TRE?
So I what I have seen is that it appears spontaneously. So when the contractions start, um, some women start shaking involuntarily, without doing any exercises. And during, if it's a home birth, you see it more because the contraction is coming, and then when the contraction stops, you see their legs shaking or they're laying down and they're shaking. I mean, they're exhausted, it's been hours. So that comes up very spontaneously. So, yes, I have done TRE with a pregnant woman, considering that I am a doula and that I am trained also in prenatal yoga. After yoga practice, I guide them, through the TRE. But this is something that I also like to tell the moms, if you feel like you want to try it out, if you feel safe, if you know this is something that you want to do. Um, because right now, at least the women that I have worked with, they want to, let's say, focus sometimes on other things. Like they're doing more. I see a lot of women that are running today during pregnancy. I see a lot of women that are doing Pilates during pregnancy. So there's like this, I would say, tendency to do like um, exercise that requires more of the body during pregnancy. Like women doing even CrossFit. This is what I have seen. So I tell people if you want to try something that is more subtle, softer, it doesn't really count um, as a cardiovascular exercise. So I invite them, and then whoever wants to try it out, they can try it out. But I have done it. It's beautiful. It works wonders. And then if the tremor appears after, you know, um, the contraction, then they're already familiarized with this tremor. Um, what I have seen is results a lots of pain in the sacrum area for pregnant women, and the vibration, allows them to just release. Um, so I do want to mention that it's definitely during the first trimester. Um, you know, I also tell women like if you're not haven't done yoga before, maybe let's start with yoga after the first trimester. Lots of things can happen, not because of these practices, but just pregnancy is like that. So I also like to, let's say, whatever happens, that you don't have to blame whatever practice you were doing. So it's better if you just like, let's see what happens and how this pregnancy goes. And then, because then I work with these women that have miscarriages, and then there's a lot of guilt. So it's like, I don't want you to be guilty because you did this. Even without anything, guilt is always going to be present. So I do recommend after the first trimester.
Yeah, that's wise. I mean, since you said that, that makes a lot of sense. I would, just from have done TRE myself, like running and CrossFit, it definitely sounds a lot more intense
Yes.
to do when you're pregnant
Yeah.
than TRE.
Mhm.
So we've kind of touched on it a bit, but how does TRE compare with other somatic approaches like eye movement, desensitizing, reprocessing, or de-armoring, these kind of practices
Mm.
from your experience?
Yeah. So I believe that the route is different, meaning, for example, if I compare it specifically with eye movement, um, I have done it myself, or even tapping. I think the effect is very, like, it's incredible as well. But the entering route is different. Um, when I have done EMDR, it's like the mind somehow is still there. I mean, the mind doesn't go away ever. But it's like you're sitting and you're moving, like just the eyes or just tapping on your body. So I would say the entering route of TRE, what makes it unique is the involuntary movement that begins. So that is unique about TRE. I have not experienced that in anything else. I have also done some bioenergetics exercises. There's a lot of shaking there too, but it's kind of like you you prompt your body for that. So what to me it's very unique about TRE, and I see that on every person that comes for the first time. I don't know if I'm doing this, or I don't know if it's really my body. So just entering this mode of curiosity of like, oh, just changing the structure that's always present, um, that's a game changer. And whenever people really realize and accept, oh, this is involuntary, it's like they're entered this playful arena sometimes, like just super curious, super open, like, oh, now my body's doing this. So I believe that engages the brain from another side, like the play side, oh, this feels good, or what's happening to me? Maybe I want to make a pause. Um, and also the seriousness of it, meaning, whenever the mind is involved and you're doing like therapeutic process of any kind, and then you have the story, and the story is important and it's there, then you're focusing also on whatever happened. What I do love, and I think makes it very particular about TRE, is you can leave the story at home. at least during the practice. And I tell people, even if oh, this because I had this accident, it's because I had this, it's really nice that you pinpoint that afterwards. But during the practice, it's just enjoy what the body's doing. So I would say those two differentiators make it very interesting to me, at least, the uniqueness of the involuntary movement, and then the fact that the story doesn't have to be part of the practice. Um, and other things, I have tried many things, other somatic practices that I have tried, very effective as well, Um, but I think all of them somehow, at least the way that I have tried them, um, the mind is more involved compared to TRE.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Mm.
So, how is there a recommended amount of times a week you could do it, or
Mhm.
could you just tremor every day, or is that like doing too much? Like, what's the deal there?
Yeah. So, self-regulation is going to be the key for each person to answer that. Meaning, the recommendation I tell people that come to practice with me is make this part of your routine. How does your routine look like? It can look many different ways. So, I myself, I do it every day because I like it, because when I wake up, this is something that, I just enjoy to wake up to the shaking, but this is me. Some people that have worked with me say, it really works if I do it before I go to bed. It helps me sleep better. Some people say I use it for emergencies, like, oh, I had a discussion with my boss. Oh, this happened with my husband, or my kids are in trouble. So I lay down and I shake. So this is making it part of your routine, For some people, the routine is like, this is my emergency tool. That's perfect. For some people, it's like, oh, this is like my self-regulation or my self-care tool. I use that every day. I do love to emphasize you don't need to become stressed because you didn't release stress. It's like some people say, oh, I didn't shake yesterday. I didn't shake the day before. And I'm like, it's okay. Don't stress because you didn't release stress. So sometimes the body just doesn't feel like it. Sometimes life just happens and then you forget. So what I recommend people is have it always at hand. Like remember that it's there. Remember that it's there. And start using it at your own pace, at your own rhythm. And then if it becomes part of your everyday, that's great, but that's not the goal. Yeah. The goal is to remember that this is a natural resource. It's there for us. We can, take it out of the box and use it whenever we want. And then we decide when. Yeah. And when you lay down to shake, let's say the recommended amount of time, if you look into our website, you're going to find like a suggestion of 20 minutes. But then what happens if you only have 10 or if you only have 5? It's okay. Like just shake for 5, shake for 10. You're going to get the benefit anyway. And also consider that the body knows how to self-regulate. And so like, oh, maybe I forgot to set the timer, or maybe, I just fell asleep and then I woke up during the practice and then I ended up being here 40 minutes. It's just trust your body, like nothing, like you're gonna be okay. And then also if you feel like you need help because TRE is bringing stuff up, I do encourage people to ask for help, if you have a therapist or if you want to work with a provider, or tell your provider, but always like share if it's being a lot for you, just share that with someone, all providers are prepared to just help you with whatever comes up. So to be precise on my answer, I do encourage people to make it part of their routine. What does your routine look like? When can that enter your routine? Try that out. And then if you have 20 minutes available per day, you can do that, or once a week or twice.
Perfect. And so you're very well traveled and internationally recognized in the scene, and TRE has become popular internationally. Have you seen it being applied slightly differently in different cultures where they add their own twist, a bit of their own flavor, if you will?
Yeah, I think it's today, it's inevitable that this somatic experiences kind of like take a flavor depending on the culture that they're in. Um, and I think um, the essence of it stays the same. Like in the end, you have the experience of laying down and shaking. But I have seen people that, with time, you are not going to need the exercises because the body knows where you're going. So some people no longer try out the exercises. So that's new. Um, I also see some people that use it after something else. Like they don't use the exercises to stimulate the body, but then they go to a Zumba class or they go to aerobics or they go to all those classes that you have at the gym. And then you come home and then you shake. Or like you mentioned, you finish doing whatever routine you do at the gym, and then afterwards you lay down and shake. So, and also, of course, we do make adjustments depending on the population that we work with. In Colombia, we've had this project with this foundation, Basosfera, it's the name of that. And we were able to work in prisons for 2 years. So it was a group of facilitators. So when you're working with a certain population, people end up laying down and shaking, but then you adjust a little bit the introduction. Like you make it shorter, you make it sweeter, you make it more understandable for the population that you're working with. We have someone in South Africa. She's an expert in working with kids. So when we've had trainings about working with kids, you need to make it fun. You need to make it a game for them. You don't do like the exercises or like in yoga for kids, you're like, oh, we're going to play the lion now. We're going to play, this figure so that the kids are getting the stimulation. But then what do kids need to feel safe? What do teenagers need to feel safe? So I would say adjustments depending on culture, adjustments depending on population that you're working with. Um, so yeah, that happens.
Perfect. Yeah, because I've played around with doing it in the morning, evening, different workouts.
Mm.
I, w- I thoroughly enjoyed doing it when just before I do a jiu-jitsu competition,
Mhm.
and I was still full of nerves, just like, I'd go off to the little training mat and do that, and you just feel way more relaxed.
Yeah.
Uh, so,
I do want to add something for like I call it conflict resolution, but like if you need to have an important conversation with someone, let's say your boss, your something that for you it's like important. Oh, no, I need to go talk to my boss, or oh, I need to talk to my partner about this, or I'm gonna quit my job. Like things that your nervous system already say, like, oh, you're gonna put me into a state of stress. You can also tremor before, like you're saying, like just to prepare the nervous system to walk into this stressful situation, less stressed.
yeah, that's beautiful. What? So it was something prior to the route that I went. The TRE getting certified was something that was kind of on my radar, but life took me in a
Mhm.
bit of a different direction. So, what if someone was to hear this conversation and be like, I want to learn how to do that, facilitate that, and all the rest of it? What's the sort of process? How would someone do that?
Yeah, so I do recommend that you can visit our website, treglobal.org. In that website, you can either, if you want to try it out, you're going to find a list of providers worldwide. And then in your country, do look, if you have a TRE locally, like TRE Colombia, TRE South Africa. We have those local organizations as well, but in the international sites, you're going to find all the providers that are listed. And if you want to do the training on that same site, you're going to find the trainings available. Also, trainings around the world. What our trainers do is they list the trainings available, when the first module starts. And then you contact them directly. And then they tell you, okay, the process with me, it's like this is how much it costs, these are the dates, these are the requirements. Um, and do keep in mind that each trainer kind of like has the liberty to develop their own, let's say, their own program, meaning, some programs are going to be let's say, scheduled for a whole year. Some might take a little less, some might take a little more, some might be online, some might be, on site. So do look for whatever suits you best. Some people say, I just want to work with that trainer. I don't care that they're in New Zealand. So, okay, you do that. Or some people say, I just want to have it, on site because I don't want anything online. So look for a local trainer in your country. But you'll find all that information there. And, if you have questions, feel free to write to our inbox.
Awesome. I've got one more question for you before I ask you for all some details that people can get hold of you. If the whole world was listening to this conversation, what would your message be to the world right now?
My message would be, I believe these are good times to reconcile with feeling the wisdom that's inside your body in any way that you want. So that would be my message, like anything that you feel that is going to bring you home into the body, even if it's like going to the ocean and swimming, if it's just laying down on the grass, but just give your body the chance to show its wisdom.
Beautiful. I love it. And for those that enjoyed this conversation, and just from our statistics, only about 10% of people make it to the very end of the show. But for those 10%, how can they find out more about you? I'll put it all in the description as well, but if they want to get in contact with you, see what you're all about, share what you want.
Of course. So my personal website is Andrea.co, like without the M. You can also find me like that on Instagram. And then I am listed on the treglobal.org site. I am listed on the TRE Iberoamerica site and also on the TRE Colombia site. So you can find me in all those three, and then my personal website or Instagram.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for spending the time sharing that with us today. And I'll let you enjoy the rest of your day. I'm going to go to bed.
Thank you so much, Joe. It was very nice being here.
All the best. I'll see you when I'm looking at you.
Okay, thank you.
The intention of this podcast is to inspire. I've got loads of interesting people coming here talking all health and things that can upgrade humanity.
Crystalline podcast.